Hello everyone, and welcome to Lancelot's Nerd Corner, where I'm proud to present another 6-scale figure review. Today, we're going retro to take a retrospective look at Batman 1966 by Hot Toys, and I'm really glad to be giving you my honest and detailed account of the figure. Now, this figure was originally released all the way back in 2014, 8 years ago, so I highly doubt it will be in stock anymore in places you shop at. But the purpose of this retrospective is more so to give you an idea of what you can expect if you do decide to pick this figure up today, and to investigate just how well this figure holds up after all this time. Everything about this figure is utterly fabulous, so let's just go top to bottom and start with the phenomenal head sculpt. The cowl is deep navy blue and made out of hard plastic, with the short little bat ears protruding from the sides instead of the top, unlike most modern Batman designs. This classic Batman also has pale blue eyebrows and nose contour painted on a black panel, just like in the show. There are sculpted details of lines that run from the back to the front, along with some creasing and folding of the neck area to give the look of a fabric cowl. The cowl itself is incredibly screen accurate, but what truly takes it to the next level are the 3 interchangeable faceplates that come in a neutral, open, and gritted teeth expression. They all look stunning, with incredible sculpt work that really, and I mean really, captures the likeness of Adam West and his distinctive features. That wide chin and strong, square jaw already make it recognizable from afar, but look a little closer and you'll notice details of the nasolabial wrinkles that completely sell the likeness. The teeth are also sculpted well, although being an older figure, it lacks that shiny gloss finish that is pretty much standard nowadays for Hot Toys. One last detail about the faceplates is that they're all magnetic and still very strong, which is a bit of a problem because there's no tool to properly remove them other than simply pulling them off with your fingers. But overall, the quality of this head sculpt was years ahead of its time and holds up unbelievably well, even compared to some recent Hot Toys Batman figures. Batman Begins. Before we cover the outfit, I do want to note that I got this figure mint in sealed box, so it's brand new and has been in the box the whole time. Or at least that's what the seller told me. Much like the 66 Robin figure, the body is lightweight, albeit still sturdy enough, with a mix of ratchet and double joints, most of which are still stiff, thankfully. The elbows and knees feel slightly loose, although they can definitely hold a pose. And overall, you can tell this is an old school Hot Toys body. The entire suit is a pale blue cotton fabric that is very soft and stretchy. It really feels great to touch when handling the figure, and the elasticity of the fabric means no ugly crease marks and lots of mobility as far as the joints can be pushed. Around the neck is a bit of hard rubber that's sculpted to look like the bottom of the cowl, with some folds and creases to add to the realism. In the middle of the upper torso is the iconic Adam West style bat symbol against a bright yellow oval background. I'm not entirely sure if it's either glued or pressed onto the fabric, but either way it's showing no signs of peeling off and is still firmly planted on there after 8 years. It may be a small detail, but I think it shows just how carefully Hot Toys was at choosing the best materials for the figures back then, because the adhesives they use nowadays are infamously bad. Although one small little nitpick is that it should have been a tad bit lower on the torso to truly be screen accurate. The bright yellow belt around the waist is made of rubber, with the canisters and pouches sculpted out of plastic. There's virtually no weathering on it, which does make it look a bit toyetic, but to be fair, that's just how it was in the show, so no harm, no foul. Lastly, the gold belt buckle in the middle is made of real metal and has a slightly different style of bat symbol debossed into it. The unmistakable undies over the groin has a similar feeling to the rest of the suit, although it's slightly thicker and glossier, which leads me to believe that it may be cut from the same fabric as the cape. There are visible stitching seams at the bottom which aren't visible in the show, and may look unsightly to some. Personally, I don't mind them, and they add a bit of authenticity to the costume. Both the gloves and boots are made of rubber and have several sculpted folds and creases that make it look quite realistic when seen from afar. The spikes on the side of the gloves are made of soft rubber, but they can be surprisingly pointy. As for the boots, there are other details like the stitching on the sides and the elevated heel. And no, unfortunately, they are not split-cut boots, which limits the types of poses for this figure. And I find this really quite frustrating because I know this figure would look great in any, and I mean any, pose. Finally, the cape is made out of what seems to be satin or a satin-like fabric, which I think was a great choice, as the cape in the TV show was also made out of a satin fabric and had that same shimmer to it that this cape has. Again, it may be a small detail, but it shows how Hot Toys was careful to choose the right materials for the job. It's quite thick and heavy though, because it seems to be 2 layers folded and then stitched together. Thus, it can't quite drape down as well or naturally, and it does require some adjusting. The bottom of the cape also has much larger serrations than in the show, leading to larger folds in the cape and contributing to the drape problem. In the front is a bit of metal and string that ties the cape together, which is screen accurate, although it's more concealed in the live action costume. And just like the Robin 1966 figure, this one has the same awesome cape technology that maintains the cape's position. There are 3 pairs of tiny pegs sewn into the cape that correspond with the tiny sockets sewn into different areas of the suit. 1 in the mid-back for the cape to sit closer to the body, and 2 on the shoulders to either drape the cape around the front of the figure or to ensure it stays behind. This is hands down one of the coolest things about this figure, as I have never seen it used on any other Hot Toys Batman, and it really makes you wonder why they stopped including such useful and innovative 6-scale engineering. Speaking of Hot Toys Batman figures, let's now take a quick look at some comparisons. But let's first start with the figure that this one was made to be posed next to, and that's the Boy Wonder 66 Robin. Having these two standing next to one another is 6-scale collection perfection, and there's not really much else I need to say. The only slight issue I have is that I think either Robin should have been a touch shorter or Batman should have been a touch taller. Standing next to the DX19 Batman, you can see that the caped Crusader from the 60s could have used a bit more height, especially because Adam West was actually taller than Christian Bale. The figures do have slightly similar body proportions though, and you can also see just how much the live action design of the Batsuit changed in the 50 years between these iconic depictions of the character. Batman 66 still comes in shorter compared to BVS Batman, which I already retro-reviewed if you'd like to check it out. But also a lot smaller, as Batfleck is a hulking beast of a Batman. And lastly, here's Arkham Knight Batman towering over Adam West's Batman. But to be fair, any figure would look short next to this armored beast. Now that we've covered the entire figure and taken a look at some comparisons, let's go over the few but very iconic accessories it comes with. The figure comes with a display base, diorama box, bat radio, batarang with a rope, shark repellent, big bomb, and 13 hands, including 6 pairs. The display base is the standard small oval base with a crotch grabber that was the previous Hot Toys display standard. The Batman Classic Series logo is set against a bright green background in the middle of the base, and there is supposed to be a Batman nameplate in the front, but the adhesive wore off. The diorama box is made out of cardboard and offers an alternative display option to recreate those iconic wall climbing scenes. The inside is bright yellow with a cute na-na-na pattern, while the outside is meant to look like light gray cement. Near the top is a window that you can open, and the instruction manual shows how to properly and safely display figures on the diorama, which you can pause to read here. The Bat Radio is a neat little accessory that really stands out with small details like the gold speaker and bright red receiver. I mean, it looks straight out of the TV show. It's mostly made out of plastic, but the gold handle and rods are both made of real metal, which is a really cool detail. Now, if you've already seen my Robin 1966 retro review, all of what you've just heard and seen should feel familiar, and that's because the display base, diorama box, and bat radio are all identical between both figures. The Batarang that comes with this Batman is similar to Robin's, but this one is much larger. It's also made of plastic and captures the same details like the contour lines on the wings and the little bat head and tail. It also has a small hole on one end to tie the rope, which is a real strand of white thread. The shark repellent is another neat little accessory that comes as a bright shimmery blue canister with the words shark repellent in bright red on the side and a yellow cap to top it off. And while it is made of plastic, it does have some weight to it. The big bomb is, well, a big bomb. It is actually a bit too big though, so it's not quite true to scale. Other than that, there really isn't much else to it, other than the visible seam line down the middle. Lastly, the hands come in 6 pairs, including relaxed, fist, neutral, Batarang holding, bat radio holding, and dancing gestures, as well as an individual canister holding gesture. All of them are the same deep navy blue as the gloves and boots, but with some black padding on the palms. They're each sculpted with unique creases and folds according to the gesture of the hands, which is an amazing display of attention to detail on Hot Toys' part. To finish off, let's go over the generally good articulation of this figure. The head sculpt is actually on a fixed neck because of the cowl, which slightly restricts mobility. That being said, the head can still slightly tilt up and down, can barely tilt side to side, but there's lots of room to swivel side to side. The arms have a slight amount of bicep swivel, they can raise laterally to around 50 degrees, and can swing forward and backward to around 90 degrees. The double jointed elbows can bend well past 90. As for the torso, it only has a very tiny amount of crunch forward and extension backward. The legs have a slight amount of thigh swivel. They can raise up laterally to around 30 degrees, can swing forward to around 40 degrees, but can only swing backward around 20. And the knees can bend past 90. Lastly, the ankle can only slightly swivel side to side. In recent months and years, the term Grail has been thrown around a lot, to figures that may deserve the title and to some that may not. This Batman 1966 figure from Hot Toys is the very definition of a 1/6 Grail. Not only is it extremely iconic, not only is it incredibly rare, not only is it widely sought after, but I am happy to confirm that it also stands the test of time. The use and choice of materials was carefully planned, the cut and sew of the tailoring is spectacular, and the head sculpt stands its ground against even the most recent Hot Toys releases. Overall, this figure holds up unbelievably well after 8 years, with only minor things to be considered outdated. If you manage to find a good deal on this guy, and you really love the classic Batman series, I think you'll be blown away by how great this figure still is, even after all this time. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this retro review helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.